Has the Bitcoin only focus enabled, has it, been useful from just a product standpoint in terms of clarity and specificity of what you needed to do next at any given time?
Yeah. I know you have a good background in tech, so you'll understand how Jan and Jeremy, our head of product, talk about it. They talk about attack surface and just how much less you have to worry about when you're dealing with one asset. And again, I also think the other side of with constraint comes creativity. With discipline actually comes creativity. You think of the old Twitter character limit and how creative people get given the constraint. I think of it like that too. Like, what are all the things that people need solved in Bitcoin, and what are the different ways that they need to buy? And so we can do things that a crypto exchange just can't. Like, think of the idea of actually just having a private client services team, right? A bunch of ex Bridgewater, Morgan Stanley, Goldman guys who love Bitcoin and speak that language and can handle these high net worth people around the world. You can't do that at Coinbase or Gemini or Kraken. So one, everybody would have to be registered, because your counsel, even though they pay lip service to these things being not securities, at the end of the day they know they're super exposed. And that's why Andreessen Horowitz got like 85 people registered when they went whole hog into crypto in 2018. They got all those people registered as reps because they knew that they were shilling securities, right? And there's no one that can, with high integrity, sit there and talk about the merits of these assets. Like, they're for trading. And so the only thing that really makes sense, if you're actually being honest and high integrity with like a high net worth person, and you want to earn their trust and you don't want to lose their trust by lying to them, is maybe something like the Pfeffer portfolio. The famous, like, okay, I'm 85% Bitcoin, own the asset. That is basically the index, but there's some alpha if you give some money as an LP to one of these insiders that's, creating their own pump and dump token. So give some money to Paradigm or, Polychain or something like that, right?
He wrote that thesis in 2017. It's
I know,
wild
and
how
it's
prescient it was.
yeah. I mean, because like, there's money to be made when things move, and when they pump and they dump. If you sell before the dump, then you can be like Galaxy and not lose money on Luna. I think no matter how much money Jump gave to the Luna ecosystem, like, they made way more money. They were rumored
Yep.
to make like $8 or $9 billion on that shit in 2021, on the way up. So they can take a beating the next year and still be in the black by a long shot. So I just think, I think it's long-term greedy to be Bitcoin only. I think for me, I feel like we've built a great team and a great tech stack and a really good media brand. And so when I look at Bitcoin, it's the same thing that I used to look at in startups. Like, you don't want to be Zynga and have Facebook pull the rug, right? And you don't want to be building on all this crypto stuff and have the SEC pull the rug, or just have the centralized team that builds this alterable at any time at the whim of the founder layer one, and whatever you're building on top of it just gets rugged. Like, that's the whole point. Like, I wanted to get away from that. And so I know that building on and for Bitcoin, the inputs of like effort and experience and knowledge and networking, putting that in, we're going to build equity value every day, and no one can rug pull us.
So I want to come to the team, because I think this has been a very unique part of what you guys have built over there. A couple things that I think are notable. One is, obviously, you have sort of modeled in a way that I think a lot of companies would be, and probably are, very envious of, using content marketing really well, sort of understanding that it's not a conversion medium, it's a sort of a brand building medium, but that also sort of ends up having that type of effect. I mean, it makes sense that a Bitcoin company would get that, because it's sort of a long play. So I'm interested to know kind of how intentional that was versus organic and emergent. But then secondly, I think one of the things that people are constantly surprised and excited by is, most companies tend to have, to the extent that they have a personality, it's a personality at the top, right? And the leader's brand shapes the brand of everything. And I think certainly there's a part of that with Swan, like people know you, but the individuals who make up the Swan team really all have their own thing. They all have, they're known for different things within the community. Like, they've got their mushroom thing over there here, they've got their sun thing over here. And within that, they also like have this very interesting diverse set of opinions about a lot of stuff. And it's an unusual thing, I think, to have a team that feels coherent and sort of all brand aligned while also being such big individuals. And I'm wondering again, kind of again, how intentional that was versus it just happened to be sort of like attracting like.
So the first question was around, was it intentional to do sort of media driven
Mm-hmm.
customer acquisition?
Yep.
And yeah, that was always the plan from the start. And it's something that I've done before and kind of understand. Um, I have a broadcast degree way back in the day and was a really shitty NBC TV reporter long ago. And I've been involved with a lot of startups that have used media as their marketing, basically to generate inbound. So you just put out content that is valuable and that generates inbound. Um, I had a front row seat for the last couple of decades to the growth of 37 Signals and Basecamp. So they wrote, remote and rework and all of that. So one of my best friends who actually officiated my wedding and is one of the writers of my book with Brady and Stefan Lavera that's coming out this year, Bright Orange Future. There's a guy named Matt Ruby. And he was employee number one of 37 Signals before they even put out Basecamp, and was ghostwriter on a couple of their books. And, so I've always kind of watched that. I was also a huge fan of College Humor back in the early aughts and mid aughts. And before they sold to IAC, they had no ads. They had hilarious content and videos, and then they owned Busted Tees, and the only ads on their site were these T-shirts, like, Getting Lucky in Kentucky and all that kind of stuff. And they sold the heck out of these T-shirts. And that was their monetization. And, then I would look at like other brands that grew up and started content efforts. Like, Casper started like a sleep website. And I was looking at it and I was like, Bitcoin is even closer. It's even better. Like you can do funny stuff and then sell T-shirts, and that's pretty good. And then like even tighter is the integration between selling mattresses and having a sleep website. Like that's really close, but it's not a website about mattresses.
Right.
But with Bitcoin, the media is about the actual thing that you're selling. There's actually never been a tighter integration between like the content that you would make and what you're actually selling. And so to me, it's just kind of the perfect thing. And the other thing is like before we took a lot of, investor funds and spent years on this, like there's a lot of other things that I and, a lot of the senior team already have previous successes. Before we spent years on this, we wanted to prove to ourselves that we could acquire customers and fans of Swan cost effectively. Because if you are like, you can't compete in the auctions on Facebook and Google versus the altcoin casinos, because obviously they're getting people in there and ripping their faces off with these altcoin, trying to get you to like, trade Polygon and trade this and trade that and trade this. And all the notifications are, and all the layout of the site has all these dark patterns trying to like grab you with the shiny object and sending marketing emails about how some altcoin's going to moon or whatever it is. Right. It's just all this horrible online casino, dark pattern stuff. And all the people that come from it come from online gaming, and they understand, how to do notifications to get the whales to spend the most on the digital items, or they come from ad tech and they used to run, brain powder scams, and now they're doing crypto. Like that whole, it's all online gaming, online gambling, and online advertising is basically all of the talent for the crypto exchanges. And they can spend enormous sums of money because they know they can monetize these people, and they can harvest them once they get them in the door. And so you have to create your own media, because you can't spend ad dollars against that, because they can monetize these people so much better than you can if you're actually doing something good for them. And so you just have to tell people like, we're here and we're a trusted partner, and we're going to, you're going to join this community and get all this like great knowledge and education, and you're going to have somebody to talk to, and get on Team Bitcoin, and that's your tribe, and you basically like building a movement.